Hey guys, how are you? I hope all of you are doing superbly well. So let's continue with our discussion on the Keynesian theory of national income. I hope all of you have understood whatever we have studied so far. And if you are new to the channel, please do not forget to subscribe to the channel. And all those who are watching, I request all of you to please do like the videos whenever we are posting it, whenever you are watching, please do like the videos. That is a kind of motivation for all of us, right? So let's continue with our discussion. And before we move on to the next topic, what I'm going to do in this part is let's have a quick recap of what we have discussed so far. Right, so we have been discussing about the Keynesian model, and we have been discussing about what we have been discussing about two-sector model, right? What are the things that we have discussed already in this part? The first thing that we say is in the two-sector model, there are only two sectors. One is the household sector. Why I'm going to do this revision for the next 5 minutes, very important, because we are going to link the topics ahead. Okay. There is one sector, that is the household. There is another sector, that is the business sector, right? No other sector, no government sector, no taxes, no foreign sector, nothing in this two sector model. And this is very much a hypothetical model, right? This is a very hypothetical sector that is given by whom? That was given by Keynes. Okay, that's fine, sir. We have understood that. After that, we discussed about another topic, that is aggregate demand. What is aggregate demand? Aggregate demand is the sum total of consumption plus investment, and we say that the investment remains constant in the short run. That what you are demanding from the economy, in an economy, what is the total demand for goods and services? That is your aggregate demand. And we say, when we are talking about the aggregate demand, the first thing that we say is that we are asking for the consumer goods, right? This is what C is, what the demand for consumer goods, right? That is routine goods. And here it is demand for investment goods, and the investment goods remain constant in the short run because you are not investing on the daily basis in the investment goods. Understood? Great. After that, in the last lecture, we discussed about another thing. That is the consumption function, right? We say consumption function is a function of y, that is the disposable income. And also we say that y is equal to yd, that is total income is equal to disposable income in this case, because there are no taxes, there is no government intervention, no taxes, nothing at all. So we say whatever the total income we have, that is the disposable income that we can spend on buying the goods and services. Which goods and services? The consumer goods and services. We are not talking about the investment goods and services, right? Okay. So after that, the consumption function was given by C is equal to A plus BY, right? C is equal to A plus BY, where A is the minimum expenditure, the minimum consumption expenditure at a zero level of income, and B tells us the slope of this consumption. That means that the change in the consumption expenditure due to the change in income, that is denoted by B, right? Then we discussed about MPC. What is MPC, sir? That is the marginal propensity to consume, that shows the change in consumption expenditure due to change in income, and it is also denoted by B. And we say that the change in the consumption expenditure will not be at the same rate as the change in the income, because at higher levels of income, we tend to save, right? The consumption will decline, right? The consumption will decline as the income goes on increasing. Our consumption expenditure will increase, although it will increase, but the rate will not be same as the increase in the income, right? Because at higher levels of income, now we are satisfied with the consumption expenditure that we are doing, we start saving money. So that is what the MPC is. Then we discussed about the average propensity to consume. Average propensity to consume is total consumption divided by total income. That out of the total income, what part of the total income the people are ready to spend on the consumption expenditure, right? Out of the total income, what part of that total income you are ready to spend on the consumption expenditure, and the consumption of what? The consumption of consumer goods and services. Clear? I hope this much is clear. So this is what we have discussed so far in this particular chapter, right? So I told you that in the 5 minutes we are going to do the summarization. Now I say, what is income? Income is denoted by Y. Let's say I have 1000 rupees in my pocket. What I can do with 1000 rupees? One thing I can do, which we have already studied, is the consumption expenditure, that is C. But let's say my consumption expenditure is only 700 rupees. That is what the total requirement is. I don't know. I don't have any other requirement to do the expenditure on. So what about the remaining 300 rupees? What can I do with that remaining 300 rupees? Sir, that I can save. Which is denoted by S. That is 300 rupees. That out of the total income, I can consume something, right? That we have already studied in the consumption expenditure. Another function that I can do with the total income is that I can save money. I can save this 300 rupees, and that is what we are going to study here now. That is the saving function, which is denoted by this word S, right? Consumption expenditure by C, the saving function by S. So saving function shows the level of savings at each level of disposable income, that what is your disposable income and whether you are saving or not out of the disposable income. At zero level of income, the households tend to dissave, that is borrow money from outside and withdraw their past savings to meet their consumption needs. At this, the level savings are negative. I told you something in the last lecture regarding that. Remember? In the last lecture, I told you this point when we were discussing about this particular A thing. I told you what is A. The A is at zero level of income. At zero level of income, you need some expenditure for the survival part, right? Then how will you be able to do that expenditure? You will be able to do that if you borrow some money or if you dissave, that is withdraw your past savings, right? If you have done some savings in the form of fixed deposit, you will break that fixed deposit and withdraw that money, right? Because you, for the survival only, you need the basic expenditure, basic consumption expenditure will be there. And that is what is saying here, that at zero level of income, will there be any savings at the zero level of income? No, sir. There will be negative savings. Why it is being called negative savings? Because either you will be borrowing money, right, or you will be withdrawing the past savings which we have done. So it will go into the negative figures, right? So disposable income is a sum total of consumption and savings. Y is equal to C plus S. We can write it from here. Y is equal to C plus S. What is Y? 1000. What is C? 700. What is S? 300. So Y is equal to C plus S, that out of the total income, you can either consume or you can save, right? So it is a function of consumption plus the savings. Right, sir? So where Y is the disposable income, C is the consumption function, and S is the saving function. Then comes the topic marginal propensity to save. Now, what is this MPS? We have already discussed about marginal propensity to consume, that with increasing income, your consumption expenditure will increase. But what is the rate of increase? That is denoted by MPS. Right? And at the same time, we are saying that as the income increases, the consumption increases, but not at the same rate of the income, because people start to save. People start to save. Now, what is that saving? What is the change in the savings with the change in the level of income? That is denoted by marginal propensity to save. So MPS shows the relationship between savings and income. Some part of the income is spent on consumption expenditure, which we have already studied, and some part is saved. So MPS is the incremental savings per unit of incremental income. That is, if you increase the income from 100 to, let's say, 110, will there be any savings? He says out of this, let's say your savings are 0 earlier, now you can save some part. Let's say 5 rupees you are saving, out of this 10 rupees. So incremental income is 10 rupees. What is the incremental savings here? Incremental savings is 5 rupees. Clear? So MPS is change in S divided by change in Y, or we can also write it as 1 minus B. 1 minus consumption, 1 is what? Out of the total income, whatever you are consuming, if out of the total income you subtract the consumption part, what is left here? Savings, sir. Right? This is what? 1000 minus 700. What is left? Saving. So he says saving is what? 1 minus B. B is what? B is your MPC. So 1 minus MPC will give you the savings part. If from the total income, Y is what? Your total income. This is what? This is your consumption. So if you remove the consumption from the total, what you will get is savings, right? So when we are talking about change, 1 minus B, that will be where B is marginal propensity to consume. That will give you MPS. The savings is an increasing function of level of income. That is, the savings increase as the income increases. The reverse was true in case of the consumption. The MPC tends to decline at higher levels of income due to the more savings. So consumption is a declining function and savings is a increasing function. Clear? Understood the relationship between the consumption and the savings? Okay, so now let's try to understand with this example only, which we have started in the last lecture. I told you not to consider this MPS part. Now we will consider this MPS part. He says whatever you are earning, let's say you at zero level of income, will there be any savings? No, sir. There will be negative savings because you will dissave or you will borrow money from outside. Now, as your income increases, what you will have? What you will have, sir, he says, what does this signify? What does this signify? He says, if you are earning 1 rupee, out of that 1 rupee, 75 paisa you will spend on the consumption and 25 paisa you will spend on savings, right? As your income further increases, again 75 you will spend on consumption and 25 you will spend on savings. This way, your savings, earlier it was 25% of 1000, right? That is 250. Now it is 25% of 2000, that is 500, right? Your savings will increase whereas your consumption will fall, right? So this is how the savings will increase. That is what is known as MPS, and MPS can be calculated as delta S. Sorry, this is delta S. Here it should be delta S divided by delta Y, or 1 minus MPC, or we can also write it at 1 minus B. B is nothing but MPC only. Clear? On the similar lines, there is another topic, that is average propensity to save. Average propensity to save. APS is the ratio of total savings to total income. We discussed about average propensity to consume. Average propensity to consume was that out of the total income, how much you are ready to spend on the consumption. And when we are talking about average propensity to save, we are saying that out of the total income, how much of that income part you are ready to save. That is what is written here. That is the total amount of savings done out of the total income. The amount of saving increases with the increase in the level of income. APS, total savings divided by total income, right? Now try to understand this particular chart. This particular diagram we need to understand very carefully now, right? Okay, sir, we will be very, very attentive. Now, this is the disposable income part, that is X. Right, this is the disposable income part, that is X, and again here also disposable income. Here we are taking consumption and here we are taking savings. Now just try to understand one by one. What will happen at the zero level of income? What will happen at the zero level of income? So there will be A, that is your consumption will be this much. Will there be any savings? No, sir. Why, sir? Because there will be, this is what is your negative savings. Right? Negative savings means either you will be borrowing money or you will be withdrawing your past savings to meet the bare minimum consumption expenditure. So all this is happening at zero level of income. That is why it is mentioned at dis-saving. This is a part of dis-saving, right? This is dis-saving at zero level of income. Now, your income started slowly increasing. Your income started slowly increasing to Y1. This consumption, right? Income is increasing, this consumption will also increase, right? What will happen? This consumption will also increase, right, sir? This consumption will increase and it will come to a point. This is the point. What will happen here? At this point, your Y will be equal to C. That means whatever you are earning, this is the total income line. That is consumption plus saving. This is the consumption line. This is the consumption line, right? From 0 to we are increasing, but from the consumption line, there will be some minimum consumption at this point. Now, there will be a point where whatever you are earning, whatever the disposable income is available to you, you are using that for the consumption expenditure, right? What will happen at this point? At this point, your savings will be zero. At this point, your savings will be zero. Savings will be zero. Understood? Now, as your income increases, what will happen? As your income increases further, now your total income is increasing, your consumption expenditure is increasing, but at a falling rate, at a decreasing rate, and your savings start increasing. Now, this is the point, this Y2 point. At this level, you will see that the consumption expenditure is less than the rate of increase. This rate of increase in the income is high. The rate of increase in the consumption expenditure is less than the total increase in the income, and your savings start increasing, right? Your savings start increasing. So this is the level. This shows the change in the consumption, right? This shows the change in the savings, and this shows the total change in the income level, right? Beyond this level. Understood? So there are three levels that we have discussed. The first level is when you have the zero level of income. At zero level of income, there will be dis savings or the negative savings, what we call it as. Why? Because there will be minimum expenditure that is required to be done. Then a point will come as your income will keep on increasing, your consumption expenditure will also increase, and there will be a point where your total income will be equal to the consumption expenditure. That means whatever you are earning, you are consuming everything. At that point, your savings will be zero, right? As your income further increases, then what will happen? Your consumption expenditure will increase, but not at the same rate as the increase in income, because you start saving. The savings will start increasing then, right? Clear? So this is an important diagram with which you will be able to understand what we have studied in this part. Average propensity to save, marginal propensity, that how the saving function and the consumption function is working out, right? That how this function is working out. Any doubts in this thing? Any doubts in this thing? Right? So this is what is given here, that on x-axis we have the disposable income and on y-axis we have consumption and saving. Y shows the disposable income line, C shows the consumption expenditure line, and S shows the saving function line. A shows the consumption expenditure at zero level of income. At this level, the savings is negative, leading to dis-saving. The intersection point of Y and C shows the level at which the disposable income will be equal to consumption. That is, whatever money is in hand at disposal as the disposable income, the whole of it is spent on consumption. Beyond the intersection point, the consumption expenditure will fall in comparison to increase in income, and the people will start saving some part of their income, leading to increase in savings. That is what all I have explained. Whatever I have explained, I have written that. This explanation is for this particular flowchart, this diagram. Clear? The consumption and the saving function. I hope this much is clear, because this is a very important part of it, right? Okay, so we are done with this part. Now we are moving on to the next part, that is the equilibrium income in the two-sector model. Now we'll try to understand it very simply, sir. Very simply. This equilibrium income is very simple, right? After that, investment multiplier. So in this lecture, we'll be doing only this part, the equilibrium income in a two-sector model. So what is equilibrium income, sir? Just try to understand first what I'm trying to explain, okay? Okay, so we are going to talk about equilibrium income. equilibrium income in two sector model. In two sector model, that how this equilibrium can be reached. We have already discussed about what is equilibrium. We say equilibrium is when demand is equal to supply. So I'm asking you, when is this equilibrium? We say when demand is equal to supply. The same thing is applicable here. They say the equilibrium in a two sector model will be achieved when the aggregate demand is equal to aggregate supply. Aggregate demand is equal to aggregate supply, sir. Right? Or we write it as AD is equal to AS. Now we are going to study this thing, that how this aggregate demand can be equal to aggregate supply. Can it be or can it not be? Right? Because this is a hypothetical situation. We are already talking about an economy, this model, which is absolutely hypothetical. So in that case, can there be a situation where aggregate demand is equal to aggregate supply? Just for the basic knowledge, sir, the equilibrium, any economy of the world you take, the economy will never be in an equilibrium. Right? So equilibrium situation, if we talk about from the practical point of view, sir, never practical. Right? But we need to understand that what is this equilibrium, how this demand and the supply functions are working. Just try to understand one thing now. I say I have a total income. Okay, that's good, sir. What is the total income? That is denoted by Y. Now, how can I spend this total income? I can spend it either on the consumer goods or I can spend it on the investment goods. Right? Isn't it? That is what we have studied. That I have a total income. Let's say I have 1000 rupees in my pocket. I have 1000 rupees. This is my total income. This can be spent on either the consumer goods or on the investment goods. That is the aggregate demand function that we have studied. This is the aggregate demand. On the other hand, this is equation number 1 for me. This is equation number 1 for me. Now I say that my disposable income, YD, I'm taking a disposable income, that I have 1000 rupees in my pocket as disposable income. What can I do with that disposable income? I say that I can either spend the disposable income as a consumption expenditure, or I can save something out of that disposable income. Do you have any doubts in that? Right? So I say I have a disposable income which I can spend on either the consumer goods or the investment goods. That is my aggregate demand function. My demand can be for the consumer goods or for the investment goods. On the other side, I say whatever the money I have in my pocket, let's say I have 1000 rupees, I can spend that money as a consumption expenditure, or I can save also. I can save that money also. Absolutely correct. Now this is known as aggregate supply. Sir, how is it an aggregate supply? See, let's say you have 1000 rupees in your pocket, agreeable, sir, right? That means you can buy some material worth 1000 only, isn't it? Now let's say there is a manufacturer. You have 1000 rupees. So will he manufacture the goods worth 5000 rupees and keep it in his godown? Why will he keep it? The disposable income is only 1000 for which is available for the expenditure. He will manufacture, he will supply the goods which is equivalent to your disposable income, that is 1000 rupees, right? Why will he spend extra money? Isn't it? Whatever is the demand in the economy, or whatever is the disposable income that is there in the economy, the firm will be manufacturing and supplying according to the disposable income. Isn't it? I have 1000 rupees. The supply should be for 1000 rupees only. If your need for the chapati is 3 chapatis, the supply should be 3 chapatis. Your mother will supply only 3. Right? According to the demand. So that is why this is known as aggregate supply, that whatever is the disposable income that is there, the firms will manufacture according to your disposable income. Right? So this is my equation number 2. Now comes the very interesting part. What, sir? We say we have already studied that in the two sector model, what is there? Y is equal to YD. Isn't it? Sir, how is it possible? So total income is equal to total disposable income, because there is no government, there is no taxes, isn't it? There are no taxes. So Y is equal to YD. So if I use this, what is my Y? Y is C plus I is equal to YD is C plus S. So from here, what I can see is I can cancel out this, that is I is equal to save. In the journal understanding also, if you try to understand that, sir, S is what? You are saving money. For what? You are saving money so that whatever you are saving, you can invest in the future, right? You are saving some money for your mobile phone. You want to buy an iPhone and you are saving, every month you are saving 1,000 rupees, right? And once you reach that 30,000, you go and buy that mobile phone for 30,000. In that case, your saving is 30,000, your investment is 30,000, right? That will be an equilibrium level where your demand and the supply, there is a supply of 30,000 rupees and there is a demand of 30,000 rupees worth iPhone, right? So what is there? This is the equilibrium level when your savings meet your investment levels. Clear? So this is what is there in the equilibrium in the two sector model. I hope this much is clear to you. Let's read it. According to the Keynesian theory of national income determination, the equilibrium level of national income is a situation where the aggregate demand, that is C plus I, is equal to the aggregate supply, that is C plus S. Clear? So C plus I is equal to C plus S. I have given you the detailed explanation of it. I've given you the detailed explanation of it, right? So you can write it down this. So aggregate demand refers to the sum total of the demand for consumer goods and the investment goods by household and the firms respectively. Aggregate supply represents the aggregate value expected by the firms, and the aggregate demand represents their realized value, right? That whatever the value they can realize by selling their goods, right? That means what is the disposable income? And according to the disposable income, they will be supplying the goods. But according to Keynes, aggregate demand will not always be equal to aggregate supply, sir. This can never happen, right? For aggregate demand to be equal to aggregate supply, the household consumption plan must coincide with the producer's production plan, that whatever the households want, the producers are manufacturing only that much. Sir, in any economy, this is practically not possible, right? In any economy, this is practically not possible, as we all understand, sir, in a very simple way. Okay, so this is what the diagram is there, right? This is what is explained here. This is the income or the output level. Here it has the savings, here it has the aggregate demand or the consumption. So at zero level of income, right, there will be some consumption expenditure which is there, and there will be negative savings, as we have already understood. Then there will come a point, this point, where your total income, this Y plus C plus S, right, your total income will be equal to your total expenditure, and here your savings will be zero. Here your savings will be zero. Now as you increase, right, you can do some investment expenditure also. C plus I is the aggregate demand, so this becomes your aggregate demand, that is C plus I, right? So as this aggregate demand, there is a point E. This is a point E now, right? This is a point E where you have this point. At this point, what will happen, sir? At this point, this is the equilibrium where the consumption expenditure meets the aggregate supply, right? Income and output, that at this level you are having output this, you are having this particular on the income level with the C plus I, right? And here also this is the aggregate supply. This is your aggregate demand and this is your aggregate supply. So at this level, your aggregate demand will be equal to aggregate supply. After that, what will happen, sir? Your savings will start increasing. Your consumption will be less than your total income, right? Here the savings will be more. Aggregate supply will be more. At this particular level, what is there? Aggregate supply will be more than demand, right? Beyond this level, here under this level, your aggregate demand is more than aggregate supply, right? This is the only equilibrium level where your demand and supply are equal. This is the basic investment that you have done, right? Because for the output, you need some basic investment. So this is the basic investment. And as you keep on increasing the savings, right, there will be a point when your savings will match your investment. So this is determination of equilibrium income in a two-sector model, right? I hope it is clear. And this is the explanation that I have already explained to you. Just go through it from the books, okay? Nothing else is required as such. So we are done with the equilibrium income in the two-sector model. Now, in the next lecture, what we will be doing is we'll be doing another important topic here, that is investment multiplier, right? Very important, very simple topic. And then we will move on to the three-sector model, equilibrium in a three-sector model. And this is how it will work. We will discuss everything about it, don't worry. Then equilibrium determination in a three-sector model we will discuss about. Then the last injections, leakages are there. Then the four-sector model, again very, very simple. So all these things we are going, multiplier in the four-sector model we can discuss. So all these things we are going to discuss in the next coming few lectures that we'll be spending on this particular chapter. And with this, one complete unit will be complete, right? From the ICAI point of view, one particular unit will be done once we are done with this particular chapter, right? So see you guys in the next lecture. Till then, stay safe, stay healthy, keep studying, keep sharing. Thank you so much.